This is Hamlet Al, reporting in the real world as Wagner James Al. Just saw a screening of Life 2.0 by Jason Spingarn-Koff.
Spingarn-Koff.
Spingarn-Koff, and his Second Life avatar name is?
Jay Spire.
Jay Spire. So, we just got out of the screening, and Philip was there and did a mixed reality interview, which was quite cool. So, why don't we start from the beginning? Tell me what inspired the subject making this movie.
Well, it's just such a fascinating subject, and most of my filmmaking and journalism has been about science and technology and culture. And when I found out about Second Life, I needed to check it out. And as soon as I went in there, I thought, my God, this is really incredible.
And what year was that?
That was 2006.
Okay, so right as the kind of hype wave sort of hit.
Yeah. And it just seemed like an important moment where someone should do a film about it, because this is the beginning of something very big. You know, it's bigger than Second Life, of course. And I knew about virtual reality since the early 90s and had been involved in some early VR research and had been kind of tracking it since then. And
oh, really?
I thought, wow, by now, you know, it's reached some critical mass. So someone's got to do a film. Why not me?
Great. And one of the really great things is the three main characters that he follows. It's really an intimate interview with them and sort of follows them through their whole story arc in Second Life and the real world. So tell me, how'd you find these folks?
The Lovers?
The Lovers, and also Azri Falcone and the man living in a child's avatar.
Well, after doing the film, after kind of working on it for a few months, people actually started contacting me. I spent a lot of time filming people who I met within Second Life. So some of the people I met within Second Life, you know, just exploring and making friends in there and doing reporting, really. I went in as a filmmaker being totally transparent about who I am in real life and to, you know, build up people's trust. And at a certain point, with The Lovers, he contacted me, and people were kind of curious about the film, and you know, he was very excited about this new relationship and thought it.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So, and his avatar name again was
Bluntly Burblinger.
Okay, and I'm not going to reveal what happens in the movie, but the resolution is kind of a twist, and it's surprising where he ends up. But so it's interesting that he contacted you.
Right. And Azri I met at SLCC.
And which one?
I don't remember which year.
Is it the Chicago? Yeah, okay, 2007, I think.
And you know, she was so charismatic and such a great person and very talented.
Yeah.
I had been following another builder before, and I'd also followed another lover before. So I was working on similar things, and then at a certain point, I kind of switched gears and focused in on what you see in the film.
A lot of the movie is about the contrast between the real world and Second Life and what's going on in the real world and Second Life. Is that kind of a theme that emerged while you're shooting the film or in the editing process?
And the conceptual process. Yeah, that's a big reason I wanted to do the film, was to explore that line and this question, what is real? Is Second Life a game? Especially this kind of nature of reality. That became more clear as I was deeper into shooting. I started realizing this film is not, it's set within Second Life and it's about Second Life, but it's not a chronicle of Second Life. If it succeeds, it should be about something much deeper and more philosophical. And I then, in the editing, tried to play up those themes. Kind of early on set up this question, what is real? Is what's real what's in our minds, or is it what's in the physical world? And kind of arguing for breaking down that binary opposition between real and virtual, and showing this fuzzy area that's very foreign to most people. If you're in SL, you know about it. Everything feels real. But for the general public, they think it's a game.
Now it's interesting. As great as the in-world footage is, really the really striking stuff is the intimate interviews. You're like, he's actually takes the camera and he's with, like, there's two lovers in the film, and they kind of they end up having marital problems because they're both married in real life, but they end up, you see them talking to each other like on Skype after really hooking up in Second Life, and like you got the camera right there, you're lying in bed with her. I mean, how did you end up being able to follow them with such intimacy?
Just after filming people over time, they open up. It's a kind of trust building situation, and
how many hours do you think
total
did you end up following them? Just kind of everyday life.
I really couldn't say. It's very hard to say. I think it's not measured in the hours of filming, but more in the passage of time. And a lot of what goes on is not filming.
Yeah.
It's talking to people and kind of following their lives and deciding this is an important moment now to get on camera. Mm-hmm. My approach is not to film every day. It's to be very strategic about always what's the story, what's happening, mm-hmm. How can I capture what's happening and kind of present that to an audience.
And one of the characters is, like I mentioned, the guy living in a child's avatar, and the whole story arc is really striking and kind of surprising. Well, probably not as surprising if you were in Second Life, but I would say what I'm curious is how much did you know going in that it was going to end up going that way, all these revelations that come out at the end?
I had no idea.
Really?
Because he contacted me when he was in Second Life, I think about 1 week. Mm-hmm. So he had just gone into Second Life, and then I met him and started shooting 2 weeks after he went into Second Life. So mm-hmm. I didn't know what was going to happen. I just knew that there was something really rich there, because during that first interview he talks about his avatar being part of his subconscious. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was potentially something I should follow. Mm-hmm. So you start and you see how it plays out. But as you saw him, he's in shadow.
Yeah.
He would absolutely not let me reveal his identity. And this is something that evolved.
Because actually, at the end, without revealing too much, you see more and more of who he is in real life. And
right.
You kind of was that a conversation you had with him, like how comfortable he is?
Always.
Revealing more?
Always. Yeah. And something happens in the film where then things change. Mm-hmm. But this was something where I felt his story was so important that I would take the chance in filming him all in shadow.
Yeah.
And try to visualize what's going on. And
mm-hmm.
creatively, that's very challenging mm-hmm. when you can't show someone's face.
So one of the things I did have kind of push back on was, you see at some point in the beginning you have a montage of Second Life just getting this enormous hype wave, and it's on The Office, and all these magazines are talking about it, and you show the numbers going up, and it's up, I think at the end, like 15 million registered users. And
right.
We know that's actually really not the true reflection of who's really using Second Life. It's probably, now it's about 800,000 unique, and at the hype wave when you were shooting the movie, it was probably in the low six figures.
Right.
And the thing with that,
well, the graph goes all the way to 2009.
2009, yeah, and even then,
not user, it's registered.
Yeah,
it's right. The metrics are really tricky to figure out.
And in 2009, it was about 500,000, 600,000
active users.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, I've thought about this myself writing the book as well. Is how iconic is Second Life, how reflective it is of a larger trend, because it's actually not part of a larger trend at this point. It's what the one of the characters in the movies, the kid, is playing Club Penguin, and Club Penguin is actually much, much bigger. It's about 8 million kids playing it, and it's actually much lighter and much less immersive than Second Life.
Right.
So the question is, I'll put to you, how iconic do you think is Second Life? How reflective is it of larger trends, or is it just sort of kind of just one niche that sort of is a lot of, a fair amount of people are in, but not necessarily reflective of?
Right. Well, I think it's still very experimental. In some ways, it's still in beta. Mm-hmm. It's like always in beta. I think the cultural influence may be more important than the user base, because it's had an enormous cultural impact. Mm-hmm. And that makes it important and may inspire things to come.